Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the National Zoning Atlas for one of our metro areas snapshot series presentations. We use these presentations to highlight metro areas as they become accessible on our national map. But first, we'd like to give a big thank you to Texas A&M University and the National Science Foundation for their generous support and funding, which enabled us to complete work on a large chunk of one of the biggest state atlases, Texas. And that includes today's subject, the Austin metro area. My name is Lean Fader, and I'm the zoning project coordinator here. With me today is zoning analyst Rama Karlapalam and geospatial analyst Coral Troxel, who contributed their work on this portion of our atlas, along with zoning analysts Sam Latona and Matthew Fradamico. Today, we are going to start by answering the question, why build the National Zoning Atlas? And then we're going to move on to sharing how we build it, how to use it, and finally dive into our analysis of the Austin metro area. Please feel free to share any questions in the Q&A box as they come to mind so we can discuss them towards the end. You can find a button to access that at the bottom of your Zoom window. So you might be wondering, what is the National Zoning Atlas? Well, it is a collaborative of researchers who are working to digitize, demystify, and democratize U.S. zoning codes. The NZA is a first-of-its-kind database and interactive map that displays the regulations governing what can be built and where in the United States. Zoning impacts various aspects of our lives, from our built and natural environments to our health and housing. And with this in mind, our goal is to make zoning more understandable for everyone. I think we can all agree that zoning is often way too complicated. In 1922, the State Zoning Enabling Act established model legislation for states to authorize local governments to zone. As a result, around 30,000 local municipalities across the country were given this power and exercise their right to zone today. That is a lot of legal documents. These zoning codes often are very different from each other. They vary in whether or not it's easy to get your hands on them, especially in smaller jurisdictions with very limited budgets and staff. And the language itself can be very different from code to code, as can the format and the way that zoning districts are even mapped. If you do manage to find a code, oftentimes the text is long, filled with legal jargon, and it's hard for most people to understand. We are responding to these challenges in 3 different ways. First, we're creating a one-stop shop for zoning codes, where we collect all of these thousands of codes and store them in a single database. Second, we're standardizing key data points that we pull from the codes. This enables everyone to make apples-to-apples comparisons of zoning between different jurisdictions or even different regions. Lastly, our easy-to-use online map standardizes how zoning is depicted and helps everyone to access and get a greater understanding of these very important regulations. Our hope is that once zoning is demystified, it can lead to research that furthers better regulations to achieve all of our community's goals. The Frontier Institute used their Montana Atlas to show lawmakers that a spike in home values was, in part, due to overly restrictive zoning. Frontier succeeded in their campaign, and this picture shows Governor Gianforte speaking after the adoption of zoning reforms that included easing restrictions on things like accessory dwelling units, duplexes, and triplexes. Another partner of ours, Housing Works Rhode Island, publishes an annual housing fact book. After releasing the Rhode Island Atlas last fall, they were able to incorporate zoning data into their analysis, which enhanced the quality of an already useful tool for affordable housing advocates and government officials. Atlas data is also being used in scholarly research. We are currently collaborating with Cornell Tech to investigate methods to accelerate zoning data collection and standardization using natural language processing. The data that was produced by this Texas team is key to this research. Before we get to our data outcomes, we want to share a little bit about how the Atlas is made. The data plugged into the Atlas has to be accurate to ensure it is usable by policymakers and easy for non-experts to understand. We do this by following a methodology that is featured in the How to Make a Zoning Atlas guide. This document contains instructions for both the zoning analysts, who work with the zoning code text, and the geospatial analysts who work with the maps in the GIS team. The NZA leadership team regularly evaluates and updates this methodology to adopt best practices and as we come across new and unusual zoning codes. You can see on the next slide, you can see a snapshot of our NZA editor. This is where our analysts enter all of their data. In every jurisdiction with zoning, analysts work together to establish the list of zoning districts that are featured in both the zoning code and on the zoning map. Here you can see the zoning districts listed for Ithaca, New York. See here that we first identify what type of district it is, whether it's residential, mixed residential with non-residential uses and housing, or whether it's non-residential. And we also identify whether or not it's an overlay district. Analysts then review over 100 different data points within each district. We categorize much of this data by how many units are allowed on a given lot within the district. So our one family treatment section shown here contains regulations pertaining to a single unit of housing on a given lot. The two family treatment section is for regulations that apply when and if 2 units of housing are permitted on a lot. The types of development rules that we capture include a variety of things like minimum lot size, required setbacks, maximum heights, minimum parking requirements, floor area ratios, etc. Currently, we have nearly 2,000 jurisdictions in progress. We've completed almost 5,000 jurisdictions, which are now searchable on the Atlas, and nearly 800 of those are in Texas. Over 300 people have contributed to the Atlas, reading and analyzing over 450,000 pages of zoning code. And in all, our published jurisdictions cover land that is home to over 100 million Americans. Highlighted in pink, you can see the Austin Metropolitan Statistical Area, which we're going to focus on today. But first, Coral is going to walk us through how to use our public map. Thank you.
Thanks, Aline. Hi, everyone. My name is Coral. I'm a geospatial analyst here at the National Zoning Atlas. I'm going to briefly show you how to use the interactive atlas on our website. If you want to use the atlas yourselves, you can access it at zoningatlas.org/atlas. When the atlas first opens, you'll see a nationwide view. The areas in purple have zoning. The areas in gray do not have zoning. And there are other layers, such as water, tribal lands, and protected areas that are turned on by default. I'll talk about those in a moment. Near the upper right corner, you can zoom to a specific area or address using the search bar. I'll go ahead and zoom into the Austin metro area. Referencing the legend on the top left side, you can see the zoning district types. Districts that are primarily residential are shown in light purple, while the dark purple are mixed-use districts. In addition, non-residential districts are shown in beige, while gray is used to display areas without zoning. Options to change the base map include plain, topography, or satellite imagery. You can also toggle on and off tribal lands and protected lands. An important note about our geospatial methodology: we maintain a file on each of those features, which we remove from the data collected from jurisdictions. We also remove rights of way. This is helpful for showing areas that can actually be developed. Our approach provides data that is more standardized, allowing us to better compare across jurisdictions. By hovering over any area of the map, you can see a brief overview of the zoning. You can also select a specific jurisdiction to get more information. Or you can find your jurisdiction of interest by searching in Zoom To on the bottom left side of the atlas. Now let's focus on the Show Me Where People Can Build drop-down filter. By selecting this filter, data is displayed and the map is updated to show where people can build a certain type of housing as of right. For example, the single-family homes option shows where people can build single-family homes as of right. Referencing the Results tab on the bottom right, you can see that a single-family home can be built across 40% of the zone land of Austin as of right. Notice that the entire map updates with the filter, but the Results tab only shows the percentage for the selected jurisdiction. You can always zoom out to explore the region and click on any neighboring jurisdiction to select it and view its filtered results. For example, I'll click on Manor. Hit select and you can see that the percentage where you can build single-family housing has updated to 47% of zoned acres. Let's go back to Austin. If you want to find out more about one of the districts that appears on the map, you can select the district by clicking on it, and that activates a pop-up that allows you to zoom to the extent of the district or see more details about it. In addition, you can also scroll slowly below the map to see the other available details in the cards related to the area you had selected. A final way to filter is by using our advanced filters. For example, if I want to see where ADUs are allowed without occupancy restrictions, I can filter for that. I'll select Is it allowed? Occupancy restrictions, and No. The Results tab shows that 18% of zoned land in Austin allows for this. I'll leave the rest of the filters for y'all to use on your own. For now, I'm going to hand it over to Rama to discuss our data across Metro Austin in more depth.
Thanks, Coral. Hi, everyone. I'm Rama Karlapalam, a zoning analyst with the NCA, and now we'll talk about some of the zoning statistics in the Austin area. We reviewed the zoning text for all 54 jurisdictions that comprise the full Austin metro area. Keep in mind that all of our nationwide analysis are snapshots of the zoning regulations at the point in time in which they were completed. But Austin was just compiled in the spring and summer of 2024, so this is very current information. Additionally, we are working on getting funding for ongoing maintenance of the atlas with the goal of completing annual updates. And just a preface, our analysis does not evaluate land use regulations outside of the zoning code or consider any pending or recently passed state legislation which has yet to take effect. Future updates could include any statewide regulations that override zoning laws. The atlas is simple to update in the event of entry errors or major legislative changes. To give you an idea of the complexity of the Austin metro area analysis, we read over 6,528 pages of zoning ordinances, which averages 145 pages of text per jurisdiction. Of course, some were smaller with just 26 pages, and some were larger with 289 pages. There are 681 districts we mapped in the metro area with an average of 20 districts per jurisdiction. As you can imagine, this work requires significant human brain power. After analyzing zoning texts for various cities in Texas, such as Corpus Christi, San Antonio, and Dallas, I have found that each city's zoning codes differ significantly, making the review process more challenging. We review the codes, apply our methodology, and simplify zoning regulations to extract key data points for cross jurisdictional comparisons. The following slides contain examples of insights generated from the data we collected. This methodology enables us to make apples to apples comparisons at regional, state, and national levels. The Austin area is mostly of 78% unzoned jurisdiction land, 4% protected land, which comes in many forms, including natural forests, natural preserves, or parks, and 3% other unzoned land. Of that 15% of total metro area land that has zoning, 80% allows some type of residential development. About 38% of zone land allows primarily residential uses. Another 42% allows residential within mixed use districts. 20% of land area is categorized as non-residential or areas where principal residential uses are prohibited. I do want to point out that, per our methodology, districts where the only residential uses allowed are accessory dwellings like caretaker's unit or watchman's quarters, typically seen in industrial districts, are categorized as non-residential districts. This slide shows the land use in acres. Out of 2.7 million acres of land, only about 400,000 acres are zoned, while approximately 2.3 million acres are unzoned. This is primarily because most jurisdictions in Texas do not have zoning. This slide shows the further breakdown of the non-residential land use in the metro area. Out of the 20% zoned as non-residential, more than half is commercial, 16% is mixed use, 9% is industrial, and the remaining small percentages are dedicated to civic land use and open space. This graphic shows the breakdown of one family, two family, three family, and four or more family residential allowed by area across the 38% of zoned land categorized as primarily residential or mixed use. I want to clarify that this is a measure of the number of units allowed per lot in each district. Our methodology aims to simplify and standardize data across jurisdictions. So when we say one family, it indicates a maximum of one unit per lot, with the exception of ADUs, which are categorized separately. Two family means a maximum of 2 units per lot, so on and so forth. As you can see, all lands within the metro area that we categorize as primarily residential or mixed use allow one family residential by right or with public hearing. About 55% of the land allows two or more family residential. However, most will require a public hearing. This chart shows the percentage of land area by jurisdiction upon which only single family uses are permitted. The range is very wide, with 100% of Sunset Valley's land area allowing only single family homes, down to cities like Austin and Jarrell being under 25%. This chart also illustrates how easy it is to build single family homes. The solid blue portion of the bar indicates by right permission. As you can see, nearly all the bars are solid blue. Single family homes are allowed in every jurisdiction. This chart is similar to the last, except that it shows by jurisdiction where the highest percentage of land area allows four or more units of housing, essentially multifamily developments. The chart is arranged from top to bottom based on the most permissive by right use of multifamily housing, represented by the solid gray portion of the bar. Likely, due to their small size, Liberty Hill and Bartlett top the list. Austin ranks 10th out of 44 jurisdictions, which is typical for cities in the urban core of the metropolitan area. We categorize accessory dwelling units separately and found that most land zoned to allow one family housing, about 62% of it, allows accessory dwelling units. This data point is important because ADUs are a way to add gentle density and promote affordability in areas with a predominance of single family zoning. We also collect data on minimum lot size requirements, converting all lot size requirements to acreage totals. As you can see, 86% of the land in the metro area that allows single family dwellings per lot has a minimum lot size requirement compared to other metro areas. In fact, 60% of that land requires lot sizes of less than 0.25 acres, while only 22% requires more than an acre. Despite the challenge of accessing water and sewer in Texas, Austin seems to have the smallest minimum lot size requirements. Reducing minimum lot size requirements is a great reform for cutting down housing costs and increasing affordability. In addition to basic information on use and dimensional data, we also collect data on affordability requirements, age restrictions, planned residential developments, and parking minimums. These special provisions allow jurisdictions to encourage or disincentivize certain types of development. We collect this data so map users can evaluate if they may want to implement policy changes to encourage housing development. We have prepared a nice one-page snapshot of our findings for Austin, which is available online at zoningatlas.org/snapshots. We have snapshots of our other completed metro areas available online as well. Please interact with us. You can use the atlas now at zoningatlas.org/atlas. Once you start exploring, share what you discover. You will find us on X and Instagram at Zoning Atlas. We're also on LinkedIn. You may also email us anytime at info@zoningatlas.org. And now, time for questions, so I'll turn it over to Aline for that.
Thank you, everyone. As a reminder, there is a button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A, and if you want to add questions there, please feel free to do so. I do want to remind everyone that we will be sharing a recording of this presentation on YouTube, which is at Zoning Atlas, and you can find other recordings of our metro area snapshot series there as well. To start the Q&A, let's ask Rama and Coral this one. I'm going to note that Rama has worked previously in Georgia and Coral has worked previously in Ohio. So could you please share with us what was the most surprising thing that you found working with Texas zoning codes? Rama, you want to go first?
Yes. So the most surprising aspect I found while analyzing Austin's zoning code is the city's encouragement of affordable housing. Out of the 66 zoning districts, 27 districts allow affordable housing in various forms. Similarly, 22 of the 66 districts permit accessory dwelling units as well. This demonstrates a significant commitment to integrating both affordable housing options and flexible living arrangements across a diverse range of neighborhoods and zoning categories. Uh, I thought this was very unique to Austin.
And I would add that on the geospatial side, I thought the use of the extraterritorial jurisdictions was unique. I had not seen that before. I've worked a little bit in Ohio, and I thought that this was something that made Texas unique geospatially, and also in the way that their zoning can go outside of their jurisdiction boundaries and how that allows for a different development pattern depending on where that city's extraterritorial jurisdiction lies.
I think yeah, to that note, I think it's important to kind of note that the Texas counties don't have the same zoning authority that a lot of other states give to their counties. So it has kind of created a unique, it seems like they're unique jurisdictional shapes as well as regulatory regimes in terms of how people are zoning. I'm going to ask a question, and I'm thinking this is maybe something, Coral, I don't know if you want to show a little bit more on the filters. We have a question on if it is possible to filter for whether or not you can build duplexes, triplexes, or townhomes.
Sure, we have some really nice filtering availability in our advanced filters. Let me go ahead and bring that back up. So if I zoom into Metro Austin, and I want to take a look at show me where people can build, we do have the apartments toggle here. So that will start you off with the 4 or more units function. You can go down to the advanced filters, and then here we break out the 1, 2, 3, and 4+ option. And then within those, you also have the ability to take a look at, for example, minimum lot size, minimum parking, and other similar opportunities there.
I will also add in terms of townhouses, we do not track building form. So we keep it very strict to use. So it is number of units per lot. So one family could in theory be a single family detached home. It could be a townhome, attached, semi-detached, as long as it is 1 unit of housing on a single lot. That is how we track it. So this is a little bit different, I think, than a lot of planners, especially tend to think about things. They're often writing around particular built forms. But in order to simplify it, and because so many places offer very different regulations and very different built forms, this was the easiest way to make things comparable between jurisdictions. If anyone else has any questions, you can certainly add them to the Q&A. And if not, I'm gonna ask both of you if you can just opine a little bit on the difference between a large city like Austin and doing this analysis versus some of the smaller cities that you've seen in Texas. And you know, because I think there is also a very big difference there that people might not be.
Sure, I can start. So I would say, and this is something that I think we're used to now, but maybe new to the public, the availability of data and the type of data that we're able to easily get, a very wide range. I will say some fantastic downloadable and data service links from your larger cities, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, a few that come to mind. Very excellent quality GIS data, very easy to work with, very easy to clean and turn around and republish for our map. That would be one end of the spectrum. That being said, those are a few examples. I would say the larger majority of the mid-size and smaller jurisdictions are your traditional PDF map, no actual GIS data available. Within those PDFs, some are very high quality, very clear, very easy to distinguish. Some are not. Some are very old. They're perhaps have been not redone in 10, 20, 30 years. And that's understandable if the jurisdiction hasn't changed that much. But to turn around and redigitize that into our interactive map format, you know, it presents a challenge, and it goes to the need for supportive data sources, everything from aerial imagery to parcel data to roadway data. That all helps us kind of take these static PDFs and turn them into this interactive database and mapping form that we have them in now.
Yeah, in this context, I would like to add that with larger cities, there are not many discrepancies between the zoning map and the zoning text. But whereas when it comes to smaller cities, there's a lot of discrepancy in the zoning map and the zoning text. Like there are some districts that exist on the map, but then there's no text pertaining to those districts in the zoning text. So that is one of the major differences. And with larger cities, though, it's all laid out very neatly. Sometimes when you don't understand a certain aspect of the ordinance, to get in touch with a city planner, you need to take an appointment. And that's the only way you can get access to them and get things clarified. Sometimes you need to wait, for a week or so to get an appointment just for clarification. Um, that I thought was a slightly inconvenient, because unless it is clarified, we cannot move forward.
We are approaching our time, so I just want to say thank you to Coral and Rama for sharing what you learned working in Texas. It has been, I think, one of the more unique states that we've worked in. Usually we find a regime of a type of zoning, and it tends to kind of carry through the state. And Texas is each jurisdiction, it's like you're learning zoning all over again. They're all very unique and very, very different. So it has been really a wonderful challenge for us, and it really has kind of stretched, I think, our thinking around zoning in many ways. So it's been a great project to work on. We're very thankful to have had the funding and the ability to do Texas, because it is such an interesting zoning zoning state. With that, I just want to say thank you to all of you for joining. And again, please check out our videos on YouTube at Zoning Atlas, and follow our progress on social media. And please do use the map that is there for you. And we hope that you find this. Thank you very much.